Quick disclaimer, these discussions are intended for education and informative purposes. They are not to be used as legal advice. Welcome to the 256. I'm JD, host of the 256 Investor Podcast. This is for both the seasoned investor building a portfolio of rental properties that wants to sharpen their skills and for the potential investor that needs to answer some questions and gain strategies to invest with confidence. We'll discuss all things investing, legal, tax planning, acquisitions, insurance, and of course, we'll discuss real-life experiences with 256 investors. Whether you live in the 256 or invest from afar, this is for you. Hi, thanks for joining us once again. This is JD with the 256 Investor Podcast. We have a very special guest today with us. This is the tax assessor for Madison County, Cliff Mann. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I do want to make the distinction between tax assessor and tax collector. You are not the tax collector, so nobody writes checks to Cliff.
I take no money. I take no money.
You put the values on properties.
Right. Yeah, so the Valerie Miles is our tax collector. She collects the taxes. I just tell her how much to collect.
There you go.
So I don't know which is worse.
Those cards just came recently because I got them a few weeks ago.
Right.
Several cards in the mail that said your property is worth X amount of dollars.
That's right.
This is not a bill. Do not send a check. We're
That's
just
right.
telling you what your property's worth so that we can collect your bill when it comes due.
Right.
October 1st, correct?
That's right. October 1st is the lien date where everything is set, taxes are set, and bills go out at that time. It's a whole process working toward that. Like we're finalizing our values right now for the bills that will come in October. So it's a whole process if you go through the year.
I think this is a little bit different. I don't know if you could tell how many counties do it like this, but they are paid in arrears in Alabama.
That's right.
So it's not they're due October 1st.
For the previous year.
For the previous year's taxes.
Right.
So 2025, it will be for 2024's taxes that we pay October 1st.
That's right.
And you have until December 31st to pay that
right. Mm-hmm.
with no late fees and that kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. I want to back up a little bit and kind of reintroduce you.
Okay.
You were elected in 2014.
Correct.
To be the tax assessor for Madison County.
Right.
Took office in 2015, so you've been doing this about 10 years now.
That's right. It's hard to believe. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes and quickly. When you came into it, we were in a totally different position. And to backing up, you were a real estate agent.
That's right.
When you were elected.
That's right. I was in real estate for 20 years prior to this, and in a weak moment, somebody talked me into politics, and I'm like, but the previous assessor was retiring and thought that with my real estate experience, this would be a good opportunity to use that, and it really has been. I feel like I do property issues still every day with closings and property taxes prorated and values and appraisals and land disputes, line disputes, and so we handle a lot of those things through our office. So it's been a blessing to have that background and that knowledge, and then also the relationship with realtors as well, because they call with issues and I'm able to help them or hopefully communicate to realtors how they can better serve their clients in regard to homesteads or property taxes as well. So it's been good. So.
Well, going back to your career in real estate, how did you get there? Were you born here locally?
Yes, I was born and raised here out in the Owens Crossroads. We have a farm out there, and went to Auburn and got my degree there and decided while I was there I wanted to go into the ministry, actually. So I got my master's in Bible and went into the ministry for several years. And then when we moved back here, my wife's from Florence and I'm from here, and my mother was already working in real estate, and so I just joined her and began working in real estate, and 20 years went by pretty quick.
Okay.
So that was a blessing in a career. It was some tough times in 08 and 09, some tough years as well. But real estate's cyclical. Things come and go. I was the president of the association here in Huntsville in 05, and so I was able to help do some things there. And it was really good. Changing careers at 50 was not my plan, but if God has a different plan, that's what we do. And so I took office in February of 15. So I'm in my second. They're 6-year terms, so I'm in my second term, and I'll be on the ballot again in 26, and we'll try to keep going. So.
Okay, and even starting in 2015, I mean, we weren't exactly over the recession yet.
Right.
In my opinion, we were still well into it. Mm-hmm. What changes did you immediately see, or looking back at 2015, how have things changed so dramatically in the last 10 years?
Well, it's been Huntsville has always been a unique market in the terms of we finally diversified our economy enough so we didn't have the great ups and down swings as a lot of cities and places do. So we didn't see as dramatic of issues, but that's when it really started taking off and growing as well. I think when I came in, we had assessment. The value that we assessed was like, I don't know, 210 million or something like that, and this year it's 290 million. So it's just a matter of growth in value and then growth in industry and residential as well. So it's been hard to keep up. We've maintained a staff of about 40 people, and I've been able to maintain that pretty well. We've added a few people, but we've tried to bring in new technology to go along with that. And so with the technology and different training and so forth, we've been able to maintain that and yet keep the same level of production. So.
What were the biggest issues you saw when you came in? Was it staffing problems? Was it the physical location you were working in? What kind of things did you have to work through?
Yeah, I think it was a training of employees and then technology, so that was a big thing of bringing everybody up to speed on computers and software and new programs that were there to help be more efficient and effective in what we do, and just processes of how appraisers go out and do their work and how they can be efficient in that, and helping people come into the office as well. Of course, we were in the courthouse at that time on the 5th floor, so that was a challenge because people were already frustrated by the time they got to us because they couldn't find a parking place, right? But so 3-4 years ago now, I guess, we moved into the new service center over on the corner of Oakwood and the Parkway, and that's been a blessing to people are able to get in and out relatively quickly. It's a new facility, and we've been able to spread out a little bit and have a better work environment for us and to greet the taxpayers as well.
Yeah, I could testify that it is a really smooth process. If you've never been in the new service center, I say new, it's probably 3 years old now.
Right.
But it is a very smooth process to get in and out because, like you said, the old courthouse on the square, it could be very difficult just to park, much less get in there and get everything done. And you basically just stand in line, and it was kind of open-ended to how long that would take.
That's right.
It's a really smooth. You take a number and you take a seat, and you get in and out right now.
Yeah, we have some people. Of course, the license department is there, and beginning and end of the month, their time is busy. So people walk in and see a lobby full of people and think it's going to take forever, but they're there for the license and not for us necessarily, except certain times of the year. So it goes pretty smooth. So
I know you cleaned up some things when you came in, especially with the homestead exemption. A lot of people are carrying multiple exemptions. For those that don't know, if you live in the home, you can claim a homestead exemption, and you get taxed at a 10% rate instead of 20%.
That's
correct?
right. Yeah, that's the lowest. That's 10% plus $48. So it's the lowest property tax you can pay is if you own and occupy your house to claim your homestead.
What rules did you put in place so that you could kind of clean up that process so that people are actually claiming the one house that they occupy?
Right. So in any system, people are going to take advantage of it, and because people take advantage of it, you have to put policies in place that everybody has to comply with. And so we just started requiring them to bring more documentation to prove that they own and occupy the house and when they started living there. And so one of the big things was your driver's license has to match that address. And so people would come in and say, I bought this house. And we're like, okay, when did you move in? And so the driver's license was a big deal that people didn't necessarily like initially, and some people still don't. But it's one of those things that's the best way. If you have a driver's license, a permanent government ID that says this is where I live, I'll take that. That's not foolproof, but the exception is military. People in the military, they can have an out-of-state license if they have their military paperwork that says that they're stationed here and where they live, and with their insurance and utility information. So that's the one exception. And so the other thing is when people move in from out of state, sometimes it's an issue because now you're not only just updating a license, you have to go get an Alabama license, which you're supposed to anyway.
Right.
So it causes them to go ahead and do that, and then get it updated to their new address. So that was a big thing, and then taking some time just to pull so many records of different categories and audit those. And we would send out a letter and say, congratulations, based on a random audit, you've been chosen to provide some documentation. And so, they'd have to come in and provide that, and we, caught some things that way. So it's just an ongoing thing of just trying to be as fair and equitable as we can, that we don't want anybody paying any more property tax than they have to, believe it or not, but we want everybody to pay what they're supposed to pay.
Right.
And so that's just a matter of trying to keep it fair and equitable, and to manage that. So.
Right. And so the homestead exemption was something to clean up, and then also a second home claim. There's an advantage to claiming a second home.
You can claim a second home if you have exclusive use of the home. So if you have a vacation home, or if you live out of state but you own a home here because you live here part-time in the year, but you don't rent the house and no one else lives in the house, then you can claim that as a second home with the proper documentation again, and get a 10%, get a tax break on that as well. The other thing that realtors need to know about that is that you can do that if you have a home for sale. So if you move out of your house, move to a new house, and claim a homestead on your new house, you can claim second home on the house you have for sale and keep it at the lower tax rate for the buyer coming in.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal when a buyer comes in and they see the...
So that's something that's really important for realtors to communicate to people who are moving out of a house prior to putting it on the market or prior to closing or whatever, to keep that.
And anybody who's been involved in sales, we've all seen that deal where the buyer realizes at the last minute that they were not getting a homestead exemption.
That's
the seller wasn't, and then
That's
it becomes a big deal right before closing.
For sure. And it's important to discover that early on as well, so that everybody can know what's happening, can get documentation we need to correct whatever we need to correct, and then also for the attorneys to prorate the proper amount, at closing. And there are some cases where it could affect, a buyer's qualification for their loan. If their mortgage is all of a sudden going to pay, their property taxes are going to double in their mortgage payment, it might throw it off. So it's worth checking it out. I always tell realtors, I said, never list or write an offer on a vacant home until you've checked the property status, tax status, just because, you don't know what the seller has done or where they've gone.
It's literally the first thing I do.
Yeah.
And so second is check flood zone.
Yeah, that. And then also right up to closing, because all of our, processes are in motion all year long. So documents can come back. Return mail is a big thing. We check those. So it's check early on, and then check right before closing again. Has anything changed with this property? And, many times if it has, and people are cooperative, we can correct that. And even after the fact, sometimes if people are cooperative, we can get the documentation and correct things. Again, we want it to be right. We're not trying to take advantage of people, but at the same time, I have to document every exemption I give because people are auditing me. So,
does every property purchaser have to file something with the assessor's office?
They're supposed to. If you buy a home or a property, you're supposed to come in and assess it and say, hey, I bought this property and putting it into my name. And that way we can ask you more questions of what are you doing with this property, or is it farm property? Do you want to claim current use on it? Or we can follow up on that. But if it's a vacant land, or if it's a house you're just buying as a rental and you don't come in, we process all the deeds. So we're going to change it into your name, and we're going to put on whatever tax class that it is at the time, right or wrong, because you haven't told us any different. And sometimes that happens, and then the next year when you get your double tax bill, people are like, oh, I didn't do something I was supposed to do.
Right.
And they come in and we can correct it. So
as long as that deed is publicly recorded like it's supposed to
That's
be,
right.
You're going to get the proper assessment.
We process all the deeds up to 12, 14,000 deeds a year transactions.
So between kind of fixing up some of these exemptions, second homes and things like that, and then just general growth and the increasing values of properties in Madison County, you've grown by 90 million, I think it was what you said, in the last 10 years. So that's wonderful, and that's necessary.
Yeah.
And if we're going to want things and need things to be better and ask for things to be better, that's crucial.
Right. Well, it all comes back, about half of our tax revenue goes to the schools. And then beyond that, it's the municipalities and governments and so forth. So, in the state. So yeah, it goes to the services that people want response to a 911 call, or they want response to the pothole being fixed, or whatever it is. Then that's part of it. So,
I do want to mention that Alabama is still ranked in the lower part of property tax values, right? Our taxes are, I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of ways to measure these things.
Right, and there's reports that come out and lists that come out. And if you really want to know, just go live in another state for a little while.
Right.
Because that's why all the people that are moving in to Alabama, sometimes they forget to claim their homestead, because even with double taxes, they're paying less than they paid in the other state. And so, yes, we are blessed for that as well.
I hear people from the West Coast say all the time, when I tell them what the annual property tax bill is in Alabama, they're kind of just shocked, and they say that's what I would pay a month.
That's right, a quarter or something.
Or a quarter in California or Washington.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing about Alabama. That's why people want to invest here.
Right. And we've had a lot of investors for sure.
Yeah, it's low cost of living, and plus your property taxes are going to be extremely low.
Right. That's right.
What is the overall, what's your big picture for Huntsville over the next 10 years? I mean, you've been in office for 10 years. What do you think? What do you see the next 10 with Space Command being rumored to relocate back to Alabama, and FBI expansion and things like that?
We were blessed, I guess, in some way this year, because the market moderated a little bit, and that's the real estate market does that. So in the last few years, we were like running wide open. Are we going to hire extra people? What are we going to do? Like, no, everybody let's just weather this storm and be fine. And so this year it has moderated, and so everybody's back to like, okay, we can just do our job and be fine. And but values are still increasing, just not what they did before. So you mentioned the postcard. So we send out a postcard to anybody whose property value increased, whether it's $100 or $1,000. So if you didn't get a postcard, don't worry. Be thankful your property value didn't increase. So your taxes
I didn't realize that.
Increase.
So you only get them if you increase by.
That's right. And so we sent out like 122,000 postcards, but we have like 185,000 parcels.
Right.
So not everybody got an increase. And so I think it's going to, for now, it's holding. The apartments are finally slowing down. It's a whole other issue. But and then the construction is slowing. Interest rates drive, of course, a lot of that as well. But the FBI has been a big driver here recently, as they build their campus on Redstone and bring in people. And I think the delay, if it was just that, a delay on Space Command was a good thing, because it gave us time to catch up a little bit, catch our breath on construction and so forth. But if it comes, that'll be fine too. But we've diversified our economy enough with manufacturing, biotech and all these other things, that it's helped, again, stabilize the market a little better. So,
how do you deal with, I'm sure you get more complaints than you get thank yous.
Right.
And it has to be one of the biggest complaint departments you can possibly walk into.
Right.
How do you deal with that every day?
Well, we have great staff, and they can talk people off the ledge pretty well. Right now, once we send out those postcards, and I guess we can talk about the process, but once we send out those postcards of value increases, that means we've set our values for the year. And so people can protest that. And so once you get your postcard, if you think that value is too high, you can come in and meet with one of our appraisers and talk about it. And so either we might be wrong on square footage or some issue we didn't know about, or because we do mass appraisal, we don't go out to each house and say this is worth this, this, and this. We do mass appraisal. So if we're doing a mass appraisal and we're adjusting an area of 500 homes or more, 5 to 8% up, if you're already at the top of that range, you're going to be bumped too high. Which, and so if you come in and say that, then we're like, oh, well, let's look at your house then and see what we can do. And so again, our property taxes are paid in arrears, so our sales comparisons are also in arrears that we look at for the past sales. So, our sales from last year that we're evaluating are one thing, but the market's still growing. So, sometimes we tell people, hey, this is where our value is, but based on the current sales, this is where we should be. And they're like, oh, never mind, I'm fine.
Right.
So it's just that interaction. So we have informal hearings right now. And then once those are passed, we have a board of equalization. If they don't like what our appraiser says, you can set an appointment with the board of equalization, which is a 3-member independent board that hears the value cases. And so they can make a change or a no change on it. And so once we get through that process in June, then we'll start preparing the final abstract, final tax roll, tax bills, and then we'll send them down to Valerie in August, and she'll send out the bills in September, October.
Okay. So it's not uncommon to go through that process with a lot of consumers.
Oh, no, it's not. And so that's just one aspect of it, though. So the other aspect is people coming in to claim their homestead or assess their property, and there may be issues or that we have to address. So, you deal with people's property and money, and, they can get upset. Right. They don't feel like it's done correctly. So, and so another, just a side note of one of the reasons that I took this office or trying to do it is people are so cynical about government, right? And I said, if I can just change this one little area, that would be a good thing. And so I think over the years, we've developed that confidence, I think, a little bit better for the public. Still isolated cases, people are going to be upset. And, you can just, sometimes you have to tell them no with a smile.
Right. But
we move on. But, yeah, we've got a good staff, and they handle things generally pretty well. So if it comes to me, then I try to deal with it the same way.
I agree.
So
I mean, at the end of the day, nobody likes writing a check for anything,
right.
But
sure.
I don't get many complaints. I mean, I think it's being done the right way, and I hear from most of my clients that they're pleased with the way the tax assessor's department works.
Good.
But you walked into that brand new. I mean, you never got complaints in the real estate business.
Oh, no, I've never used to that. So
I think you were well prepared.
Yeah, that's right. So somebody asked me one day about, well, how's it, going into politics? It's such a, questionable career or whatever. You get, people take advantage or whatever. I said, look, I was in real estate for 20 years. Politics is nothing. So
it follows the same course. I mean, when things crashed, real estate agents became so nice and kind to everybody so that they could sell what they needed to sell. Right. And if you'd go to an open house, they would have cookies in the oven.
Oh, yeah.
They would greet you at the door. They would give you their contact information. And at times I thought, wow, this is the best profession in the world to be in. Right. And then when things picked up, looking at the end of 2016, going for the next few years, we really boomed here. And you saw a totally different side of real estate agents. Right. And you're probably glad you were out of the game by then. Because
a new crop of real estate agents, too, a new generation, if you will, of agents have come into the market also. So it's changed.
But when we started getting multiple offers and people were waiving appraisal contingencies and things like that, people got really mean and nasty.
That's right.
And there no longer were the days of walking in and finding muffins baked for the open house. Right. You were being told by the listing agent what you were and weren't going to do with an offer. And so I think that works hand in hand with politics.
Right, for sure. Yeah,
you see the ups and downs as the economy goes.
Right. And so that's the, and I don't know if people understand either that we are under the Department of Revenue. People do come to me, and once they talk to our staff person, they talk to a supervisor, and they talk to me, and they're still not happy. They say, well, who do I talk to now? I'm like, there's nobody else, and this is it. Right. But we are under the Department of Revenue guidelines and the Code of Alabama that we have to abide by. So most of it is really just applying the law and the rules that we have. And if things want to be changed, and some things have been changed, the legislature has to do that. So the big things I can't change. I have to work within. But policy changes and things like that in our office is where we try to make the adjustments that we can. So
Right. I do want to mention that you and I discussed beforehand, before this started, that most counties have a revenue commissioner.
Correct.
Who assesses and collects the money. We are broken up into 3 different
That's right.
branches.
Most counties have a revenue commissioner, and they will assess the property, collect the taxes, and some of them even do tags and licenses as well. So we are still probably one of the last 7 or 8 counties that are split, and so we have assessor, collector, and a licensed person. So
Okay, a little bit different for those who are,
which is
who are
fine. A
investing.
big county, it's a lot to manage, and so it works fine for us right now. So
The property tax number is always the best thing I can explain to investors from out of state. They
Right.
love that.
Yeah.
But then when I explain how they work, that they're paid in arrears, that really throws a lot of people off.
Right,
And when I
right.
try to explain there's a tax assessor and a tax collector.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's important to know these things
Yeah, for
before
sure.
you start spending your money on property in Alabama.
That's right, for sure.
What do you see as some of the biggest advantages the tax assessor's office has here in Madison County? What do you see some of the disadvantages and weaknesses and things you'd like to make better?
Okay. Well, we're always trying to improve our staff in terms of training and education, so we really push that. There's different certifications and classes and so forth that they can go to, learning new processes, techniques, software, whatever. So we're always pushing that. We want our people to be the best that they can, and so we provide that opportunity. And whether they take it, it's on them, but we just provide the opportunity. So I think one of the strengths is our staff, that we're able to accomplish what we do with the people we have. Is pretty incredible when you look at other counties and the staff they have and the workload that they have, either large or small. Smaller counties have less, but so I think that's one thing that we try to do, and then we also are always on top of new software, new technology that's coming out. Like our appraisers now, as they go out into the field, they have their Surface Pro, and they have connection in the field, so they bring their Surface Pro in and use it as their laptop at their desk, right? So they have everything they need in the field. And so my philosophy is that nobody should be frustrated in their job because they don't have the training or technology that they need. And so we really try to focus on that. And we're blessed to be in Madison County, where the commission understands that, because our budget has to pass through the county commission. But they understand that and understand what we do for the county. And so, they're typically give us what we need to do our job. So, some of the weaknesses are, we could always do better at being more accurate at what we do, and trying to just take our time and measure a house or value a house or process paperwork or whatever. The other thing we've tried to do is go to an online system now that we're pushing more, so people can claim their homestead online or claim the exemptions online. And so that's helped reduce people having to come into the office. And so that's one thing that we're really trying to push right now too.
Yeah, you can never improve with technology and the ability for people to do things online. You can never do enough of that.
Right. But at the same time, you have to be trained and equipped not only to do your specific technical job, but also to be equipped to do the people job, and handle that as well.
Right.
So we try to work on both sides of that. So
Right.
and hire good people. A lot of people, we joke about it being an accidental profession. Nobody sets out their dream is to be the tax assessor or to be an appraiser in the tax office. But so we have a lot of different people from different backgrounds to come in, and that helps us as well. I think strengthens our team. But I said, well, just give me somebody who's competent, wants to work, and and we can train them to do specifically what we do.
Right.
So that's kind of been one of our strengths so far, to be able to hire good people and to have low turnover as well. Just the county system is really good, stable place to work, and benefits, retirement, and so forth. So that helps retain the workforce. So the longevity of the workforce just adds to the strength of it as well. So.
Okay, good. you worked as a real estate agent for 20 years, and I've been in it, believe it or not, almost that long.
Have you really? Wow.
And we crossed paths
Yeah.
when I first came aboard in Madison County, so I'm not going to let you go without
Uh-oh.
telling you, no, it's okay, how thankful I am that you were always really appreciative and supportive and encouraging to me when I was a brand new agent.
Good.
And like I said, that hasn't always been the case in this field. It can be very competitive. But I remember seeing you at different real estate events and maybe even at open houses and things like that.
Right.
And you would always ask me how business was going and what you could do to help. So I've always appreciated that.
Well,
and
thank you.
Never doubted that you would transition into the tax assessor's department like you did.
Right. Well, I just, it's just, I guess part of the way that I was brought up just with hard work and, you think of others and respect other people. And I knew in real estate, like I said, people, you're dealing with their property and their money, and that's important to them, and you should respect that no matter if you agree with them or disagree, whatever you're talking about. And so tried to bring that forward into our office and just set that tone, for the office. So.
Yeah, when I first got into investing, I met with a lender, and he was an investor himself, and I'll never forget. I mean, this is over 20 years ago, probably 25 years ago now, and he said, at some point, you and I are both going to walk into a house, and we're both going to want to bid on that property. Sure. And he said, you take the first one, and I'll take the next one, and we'll just alternate. We don't have to be competitive and beat each other up.
That's right.
And I can name people on one hand that I think about when I think about having that conversation. You're one of those guys. So
I appreciate that.
I do think you've had a different culture than most people have had in real estate, and then transitioning to what you do now.
Right.
And
well, I'm thankful for, when I came into the business, I had my mother I worked with, but other people who mentored me and helped me. And I just think that's part of our responsibility is to help encourage other people along the way, and it all comes back around, right, how you treat people. So, and hopefully that's something that, we can continue to foster in the real estate world and in the tax world. I'm not sure about the political world, but
there's no hope.
no hope there. But that's a part of the job that's not always as fun, but it's interesting too. So anyway, overall, it's been a good experience. So.
Well, good. I appreciate you coming in and talking with us. I'm sure everybody learned something they didn't know before. I know I did.
Good.
And hopefully we can have you back some point down the road.
Sure, anytime.
But it's Cliff Mann, tax assessor, Madison County. Anything else you want to add? Last notes?
I would just say, please claim your homestead if you buy a house.
Don't forget.
But we do to be fair. Some other states, the closing attorney does file it, right, or their agent may file it. So some people just don't know. But it is on the person and it is on the realtor. I put it back on the realtor as a great follow-up to people, because in real estate we're always looking for value-added follow-up. So instead of just calling and say, hey, do you like your house? Follow up with something of value to them, and just want to be sure you've claimed your homestead. This is where you go. This is what you do. Because we still have people who say, I don't think anybody told me about that. I'm like, pretty sure they did somewhere along the way. But so that just, have people to do that, and just come in and talk to us. If you have a problem, there's no need to get upset. Just come in, let's talk it through, and we'll do what we can.
Right.
Yep.
If an agent wants the lifetime value of a customer, those are things they're going to make
That's
sure
right.
that are taken
That's
care
right.
of, so that you don't
Right.
the agent doesn't get a nasty call the
That's
following
right.
year,
Yeah.
and they say, hey, why did my property taxes double?
That's right.
Well, it's because the agent didn't remind that person. It really is
That's
their
right.
duty to make sure that they file that homestead
That's
exemption.
right. And I think, again, going back to just the beginning, checking on the status of the property, that's like, you need to be aware of this going in, and just, it's something easy enough to do.
Right.
Right. And that may save the sale in the end, because you corrected it on the front end, and we were able to get that documentation rather than at the closing table trying to figure it out.
Even if you're not filing a homestead exemption, if you're an investor, you should assess that home. Make sure that you have the proper mailing address.
That's right.
For one.
Yes. Oh man, the return mail is incredible.
The return mail has to be through the roof.
So just yes, our website. You go to Madison County, Alabama.org/tax assessor. Everything's public. That's our site is updated publicly every Monday, you're dealing with pretty much what we're looking at. So go look at that site, check it out. There's a ton of information there. You can go to the probate site from there and look at deeds, and you can look at the map and check the lot size and dimensions, and so much things there that realtors need to take advantage of, but the public as well. And I think that's one thing that's helped is trying to promote that to the public, because they can go and see things themselves. And so if there's a question or an issue, they can let us know, and we can get it corrected, because we're not perfect. We're going to miss stuff as well. And attorneys miss things, and so we work with attorneys trying to correct things also. So we have 4 different departments, just briefly. Let me just run through that. We have an assessing department, personal property department. If you're a business, you're supposed to file a return with us. And then the appraisal department and the mapping department. So those are our 4 different departments that all work together. And at the end of the year, like I said, we pull together the abstract, the tax roll, and that's how we get the tax bill. So
I would imagine that not having the proper mailing addresses for people who live out of state and own property here is one of the top reasons why their bill is not paid by December 31st. And why they're getting some warnings of tax liens and stuff like that.
That's true. It could be that, and it could be mortgage companies pay, a good many people's taxes, and but it is up to you still to verify that they paid it, and generally they do a pretty good job. Some issues happen when the mortgage is paid off. Well, it's no longer the mortgage company's responsibility, it's your responsibility, so people miss that transition sometimes. But most things can be handled and corrected with the right documentation, and we're willing to go and do whatever we can do to help. So.
Okay. Good to know. And I'll put a plug in for the website. It is a great resource. I'm on it daily because, like you said, you can get to the deed search with a link from the, what would you call the page? From the basic information
homepage, they can go to
homepage.
They can go to a link to another page.
You can click on the link to do the deed search, and you can see the lot dimensions and all the good stuff. So I will put in a good plug for the website. I am there, I promise you, every single day.
We're located in the Madison County Service Center on the corner of Oakwood and the Parkway. We're on the 2nd floor, so anybody's welcome to come by and see us anytime. And we're open 8:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and we have people there that are willing to help you just with general questions or issues you think you might have with your property. Or researching property as well. So come by and see us there. You can also reach us at our 256-532-3350 is our number, or our website, MadisonCountyAL.gov/tax assessor.
Oh, well, Cliff, I appreciate you coming in.
Yes, sir.
It's always good to see you.
Good to see you. Appreciate it.
That's once again Cliff Mann, tax assessor, Madison County. I'm JD. My time's up. I thank you for yours.
That's a wrap on this episode of the 256 Investor Podcast. Big thanks to Cliff Mann for sharing such valuable and actionable insights.